In the previous episode, the SPARCstation IPX powered on briefly. As many of you said, a tantalum cap had shorted, leading to the small fire. Luckily, there was enough remaining of the exploded cap that we can still read the values. So the first step is to get everything disassembled again so we can repair it. After removing the memory, we see some corrosion, so we'll have to try to clean this up as well. And for the time being, I just want to replace this cap before any other work, just so we can see if the system actually works. So the next problem we have is how to actually interface with the serial port on the IPX, because the IPX uses a mini DIN 8-pin connector, and the cable looks like this. So the problem, of course, is that any type of serial to USB converter is going to be a DB9. So we're going to need some way of connecting the mini DIN to DB9. So I've got one of these breakout DB9 ports here, and on the other end of the mini DIN cable, I've got bare wires here. So we should be able to interface into this breakout and then connect that to the serial to USB adapter. And the pinout here is on sunhelp.org, and they have the signals here. So using this pinout, we should be able to hook this up pretty easily. I determined the pinout of the mini DIN cable and then made the connections to the DB9 breakout. And the IPX doesn't use the RTXC or receive clock signal on this wire here, so we should be ready to test. Okay, I think we've got everything ready, so let's give it a shot and see what happens. We have a power light, No more caps exploding so far. No output yet. Okay, I feel like we probably would have seen something by now. And it could just be something going on with the pinout. Maybe I didn't get something right. Okay, so I swapped around the RX and TX because I think I had that wired up wrong. So let's try it now and see what we get. Oh, yes. Yeah, I got the NVRAM failure. Okay, starting the RTC. Hopefully that works. Yes. Amazing. So we got ROM revision 2.3, 16 megs of memory. So that's detecting all the memory. Oh, we got the memory self-test failed. Following parts as suspect U308. Okay. Interesting. And I wonder if that's maybe just that corrosion. Maybe some of the contacts aren't working. So we'll try to boot. I have the hard drive hooked up. Okay, can't open boot device. Will continue, no program is active. Amazing. I really happy to see that it actually works. And yeah, we have a somewhat functioning IPX. So that's amazing. So now that we know the system is actually operational, we can go forward with replacing the rest of the tantalum caps on the motherboard. And there are some smaller ones here that I won't replace as they are difficult to get to with a soldering iron, but they'll probably be fine. This is foreshadowing for later in the video, by the way. With that done, for now, we can turn our attention to the NVRAM. In case you're not familiar, the NVRAM modules on these Sun systems combine an RTC or real-time clock along with static RAM that has power provided by an internal lithium battery when the system power is off. The batteries fail over time, of course, and the newer M48T02 modules are reportedly incompatible. The previous owner of the system had used alkaline batteries connected to the power terminals of the module to keep the NVRAM functional, which isn't ideal. Luckily, Glitchworks makes adapter boards that include a replacement battery and crystal. But first, we need to remove the top hat of the NVRAM assembly. Next, we can install the GlitchWorks module. Note that identifying pin 1 on both the NVRAM and adapter board is crucial for success. Luckily, we were able to save enough of the original terminals that soldering it to the adapter was relatively easy. I was able to submerge the memory slots in the ultrasonic cleaner, and they came out looking much better with just some touch-ups required. The contacts on the memory DIMMs were also in rough shape, so I used an abrasive pen to clean those up. And lastly, let's see if we can upgrade the Open Boot firmware. We saw on the first boot up that we're on revision 2.3, which is pretty old, as version 2.9 is the latest. The board has a silkscreen indicating the EPROM is a 27C010, but let's take the protective sticker off to see if we can verify that. And actually, this is the 27C020, so that's good to know. To flash a new firmware, though, we'll need to erase the existing data, and to do that, we'll need to expose the EPROM to UV light. So I've only used this once before. It's extremely cheap, but it did work, and it was able to erase an EPROM I tested it on. So I think it should be okay here, and the datasheet for the EPROM does give us a guideline to how long it should be in here. I think I'm just going to try it for 10 minutes. And the setting here is in 10-minute increments, so we'll just go to the 1 and get it going. But of course, before we begin it, I need to take off the sticker here to expose the window. Which is right there. So once this is exposed to UV for a set amount of time, it will erase the contents, and then we should be able to write to it. So the first step is going to be ensuring that we actually had a successful erase. So I'm going to go ahead and read the chip. And we should have a completely empty file, which I think we do. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to write the new image. So I've got it loaded up here in the programmer, and we're gonna see if we can successfully write to the EPROM. So I think we should go ahead and give it a shot. Seems to be proceeding okay so far. Okay, so I think we should be ready to reinstall this and see if it works. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this back onto the board. And I think I'm ready just to go ahead and reinstall everything. So I'm gonna get the board reinstalled into the chassis, and we can see if everything works. And just a quick heads up, the serial port will be at the All Things Open event on October 12th through 14th in Raleigh, North Carolina. All Things Open is the largest open source tech conference on the US East Coast, and this year they'll have over 150 speakers. We'll be running a live retro dial-up internet exhibit with the serial port ISP. If you happen to be planning to attend, be sure to drop by our booth to say hello. But first, let's get the IPX case all cleaned up. So I've got the serial port hooked up and I think everything else is ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch it on. On our next boot up, we see we're now at revision 2.9, so we have success, but we still have memory errors, so we'll need to address those later. First though, we need to get new values programmed into our NVRAM, which will be our machine type and MAC address. There are good write-ups on how to do this scattered around, but we have to enter in each octet of the MAC with separate commands before writing everything to the NVRAM. With that done, I then wanted to figure out the memory issue. I wasn't able to make much progress though, so I reset the NVRAM to default, which at least cleared the memory errors. I hooked the hard drive back up, and after finding the correct device address and trying a few combinations, oh, oh, we got it. Oh, wow. We're booting into NetBSD version 1.5. After trying a few passwords, we rebooted and sent a break command, which allowed us to enter in boot-s and get to a shell prompt. From there, we can change the password for the root account and gain our first access into the system. It was pretty much a bare NetBSD install, but I wanted to get it onto the network. I kept seeing no carrier when trying to bring up Ethernet though, and that's when I noticed the AUI transceiver had no power. Remember those caps I didn't replace? Yeah, one of those blew up. I looked back through the footage of when I was first doing the cap replacements, and it had actually already blown by that point. I had just completely missed it. Moving on from that embarrassing mistake, I replaced the cap. That's a power LED, so I think we may have fixed it. Oh yes, we're online. Ha! It works. Okay, can't get out to the internet, but we're on the network. Okay, so now, yes! All right, we're in business. That's awesome. And with that fixed, ultimately we want to install SunOS on this machine. So the easiest way to do that is by CD-ROM. The drive appears to work physically with a very weak eject mechanism, but otherwise might be functioning. Unfortunately though, we see an issue during boot when it's detected. I disassembled the CD-ROM chassis, which is basically just an external drive enclosure with a fairly large power supply. I disassembled the CD-ROM itself and did find some surface mount caps on the controller in bad shape. And though I've tried several times, I've never successfully repaired a CD-ROM drive. So to keep things simple, we hooked up a Zulu SCSI in place of the CD-ROM, which should work perfectly for loading SunOS onto the existing hard drive. We're using our Ubuntu lab machine as a serial console. We're installing SunOS version 5.5.1, also called Solaris 2.5.1. After loading an image on the Zulu SCSI, we started the install. It ended up taking hours to fully install, but we were left with a perfectly functional system ready for a bigger roll. This system has gone through quite the transformation. It was completely dead from the start, and while it took quite a lot to get it going again, it was a huge learning process and ultimately a great success. And in light of our video on IRC, which you should check out over on the serial port, we have something very special planned to celebrate the revival of the IPX. Until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.